Happy Thursday, friends.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Bible Study. Glad you're here. Oh, my coffee's done.
Pretty nice day.
Yeah.
I know people are feeling, I heard it last night, of people bemoaning that Christmas might not be white. But it's hard. It's hard to beat. Sunny, not too much wind, relatively warm. I'll take it.
Yeah. If it was this way for winter, there would be a lot more people that lived here.
Maybe stay here.
Yeah. I mean, this is nice. This is really, really nice. In fact, yesterday, I came to church with a coat, and I went home not wearing it because I thought, why did I bring a coat? This is really nice. Yeah.
We will get winter. There's no doubt about that. So, in my mind, the later it starts, and if we get a dusting of snow for Christmas, well, that's okay. That'd make people happy. That's fine.
It would certainly make people happy.
But it would make some people happy not to have snow.
Yeah. Those people.
I don't know if you guys are on Team Snow or Team No Snow.
Excuse my yawn. Those people do have available the options of going places that don't have snow.
Yeah. I was at the grocery store the other day. I meant to tell you this. Christmas peeps. They now have Christmas peeps. I almost got some, but I thought, I'm not going to do that.
What is a Christmas peep?
Well, it's like a peep. There was a reindeer one and a Christmas tree one.
Oh, I'm morally opposed to this.
You just are okay with regular duck peeps or
no,
chicken
I'm not okay
peeps
with
or
those
whatever
either.
they are?
The peeps began trying to take over the Christian practice of celebrating Easter. Now they're going after Christmas. There's nothing left.
Oh, well, that seems like a lot to lay at the
pretty
feet
soon,
of peeps.
You know it. Pretty
It
soon,
seems a lot to lay
they're
at
going to
the
be going
webbed
for
feet.
Ash Wednesday before you know it. They're going to be coming after us with like coal peeps.
That seems a lot to lay at the marshmallowed webbed feet of peeps. But Ash Wednesday peeps, I don't even know what that would, just a cross, I guess, or peep cross.
What other Christian holiday can they take from us?
We don't really have any.
Pentecost peeps.
Oh, that'd be good. Fire peeps and
Fire peeps.
cinnamon flavor.
If anybody from Peep Corporate is watching, the only way you can redeem yourselves is to go for a better Christian holiday.
Well, and stop making peeps because they're disgusting. I mean, if you're taking advice from us, quit making the things. They're horrible. But yes, I guess if you insist on making them, make better versions of them.
I love how just like
I mean, as long as we're
how
talking
blunt
to
and
them.
declarative that was.
If they happen to be listening,
that's good. That's
I
good.
assume they're done listening now.
Okay, you had said this a long ways back, and I remember it.
Okay. I do not.
I'm going to throw it out for public consumption. Clint
man.
asked the question, is there ever a day that we change the color of the studio just to like mix it up?
Oh.
Yeah. Like, do we just want to, is that a thing that we do? So I want to go to all of you friends at home. Do you think that we, at some point we decide we want to go
Color scheme.
dark green
We're a
or,
little bit-
or whatever?
We're a little bit set on the desk. That's locked in.
Yeah, the desk is not changing.
This is probably not changing much. I guess we could change up the cross and hang something else, or possibly paint that. But that wouldn't necessarily be well received. I mean, not this so much.
You're saying keep it, but
I'm
change
saying
it.
you could paint the cross. We could hang a different cross that was painted.
You could, yeah.
You could put something else there.
There was a version of the conversation where we would make this more extensible, where you could, hang different things from it. But that seemed like
I like the idea of writing on it, like a big blackboard.
Would you use it?
No.
Okay. If
I mean, I
you
don't
would
think so.
use it, that's a different thing.
No, well, I don't.
Because
think so.
I know I have the pen, you don't. So that's kind of a limitation.
No, I feel like that. I mean, at that point, it's getting ridiculous.
It's already ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, I don't know at what point.
So I'm just looking. Can you go back to the main? Can you go back to? Oh no, we can't, right? Because we'll lose the comments.
Go back to what?
Like the full shot.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, but we can get the comments back.
Okay. Well, I just.
Full shot is going to be this.
Mustard yellow? No. That one.
Yellow.
Good.
Maybe. I could see yellow. Do you think that at some
I've
point...
realized.
Should we put something on the... Like, I wonder if...
Hmm.
Like a thing in the wall, maybe?
Like windows.
Oh, that's just mean-spirited. Yeah, we need to cut windows in. Let's forget the window right there.
Red? Red wouldn't be horrible.
Isn't red an angering color? Isn't that a color theory thing? That red is like aggressive and...
I don't know. I will confess that my...
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit that my color palette, as I'm evidencing today,
Right.
accidentally, I'm greens, blues, purples. I'm very much water, whatever that cool water kind of colors.
Uh-huh.
Not a lot of yellows, not a lot of oranges, some reds, but they're usually Spirit Lake kind of, rust, that whole earth tone thing.
Right.
I'm very much a green blue.
Yeah.
My closet is gray, black, green, blue, purple, and then a few other things. So when I look, so I like this blue. I could see lighter blue. I could see
Wrong button.
a reddish or like a maroonish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm seeing in
People
general,
are-
the
I mean,
people's comments, Davis's, Linda.
It's a fair
Becky.
point that they don't actually see a whole lot of. Because of the
Yeah,
camera
the way that we
changes,
cut,
they don't
the way
see.
we cut between it. Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah. Having said that, I am also, as you know, a person that doesn't do sameness real well. So I'm always up for changing things.
The only thing I think that
We should have gotten some Christmas lights to, like, go around.
Yeah,
Not to decorate the cross, I want to be clear, but to frame the cross. I don't want them on the cross.
Oh.
That is not okay.
When I look at this, in hindsight, I think this here, this shot here, could use, I think, something.
a
And I
book-
think the same
a
when I go
book-
to you. I think, like, right?
A sconce or a bookcase or a... Yeah, if you have ideas what we could hang on the wall, or we could just do random things, change it up all the time. Put a shelf and just put different things on the shelf all the time.
I keep pushing buttons. Yeah, I just feel like
What
that.
was the COVID thing? Oh, we had the kids try to find the church, the little
Yeah.
foam church.
I feel like there's something in that shot that needs to be there. I don't know what it is, though.
Yeah, we could talk to a graphic arts type person.
We don't want to be. We don't want the set to outshine the content either.
It's a nice set, for sure.
And by that I mean our content sort of has a low bar, so we don't want
It may
we don't want
already-
the set to communicate
It may
a quality
already-
we can't
That
deliver.
may already happen. Yeah, that may already happen.
I do think, by way of a couple public service announcements.
Oh, yeah, and we need to talk. Go ahead.
One thing is, of course, we'd love to see you on Sunday for worship at 9 a.m. Of course, as always, I want to make note there is a special Christmas-themed fellowship time. Hope that you will join us for that. That begins around 10 o'clock. And then, of course, even if you do go the first service, please receive the invitation to join us at 11. That is our Christmas program, which is also part of our second service. And the reason that I thought of this is because, and this year, our 6th and 7th grade kids actually came in and used the studio, and it will be part of the Christmas program. They did a video in here. So if you are interested in that, give that a look. Both of those services, this is unique for us. First and second service are both live streamed on Sunday.
Oh, good. I was thinking that we need to talk Christmas schedule and convey that, but we'll be here next week.
We will be here next week.
Yeah. Also, you saying Christmas fellowship made me think most underrated Christmas accessory? I don't know if it's an accessory. Apple cider. I think apple cider is criminally underrated. Not the packet of stuff, because it's not that good. With the mix.
You're saying like of all the like side appetizer type, just put it on the counter and
because
graze on it.
People appreciate the Christmas cookies and peanut brittle, and people are always good with that stuff. But you just don't have apple cider that much. We never have it at family gatherings. We should.
See, every family gathering I go to, there is apple cider.
Yeah,
and they have it in the pot, percolating all day.
See, that's genius. You put cinnamon candies in it?
Oh, not candies. No, I meant the cinnamon sticks.
Oh, yeah. What are those little Red Hots, I think? Just the little chewy cinnamon things. I put those in them sometimes.
Huh.
I noticed at the grocery store the other day, there must be an adult version because there was apple cider, and then there were the cinnamon candies, and then there was, what's the cinnamon, the little bottles of, Doug may know the answer to this.
Fireball whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Those were on, so it was like you were building on, here's your basic cider, here's your candy version, here's your adult version.
I'm not comfortable saying that my answer to your question, I don't feel this as strongly as I feel about something, say, Wheat Thins, which is an objective reality that we all agree with, or we're going to agree with someday. I mean that this is firmly in the realm of my opinion. I think that Rice Krispie bars are an undervalued snack.
Not at Christmas.
Yeah.
Not just in general?
No, like at Christmas. When you think of like the table of things that you go snack on, right? Like I think that Rice Krispie bars are the perfect mid-afternoon. I just want a little wedge of it, and I'm going to really like that.
I do not even think of Rice Krispies as a Christmas thing. Rice Krispie bars. Nobody makes those at Christmas, do they?
No, yeah, you put red and green sprinkles in it, and then it's Christmas themed. It's fine.
Just go the whole way and put peanut
overthinking.
butter and chocolate and make a scotcheroo.
Yeah, see, now those are amazing. I don't think they're underrated. I think everybody likes scotcheroos.
They're not underrated.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rice Krispie bars are underrated because they're not that great. They're rated just about right.
They're the perfect 3:30 p.m. snack.
Well, okay.
Way better than all the cookies. You just take a wedge of that, and trust me. And it's lactose free.
No, you grab one of those cookies with the Hershey Kiss, you pull the Hershey Kiss off, and you kind of you force yourself to eat the cookie, and then you deal with the Hershey Kiss, and you're good. About 7 or 8 of those.
Why don't you just go get Hershey Kisses?
Well, because when they bake them, it does something. It makes them better. I've thought about just baking a tray full of them and see what happened, but
especially when your lead into it is, and just I gotta dispose of the cookie in my mouth.
Eat the cookie. The cookie's okay, but actually, I think it's Emma. Emma and I are great partners because she loves the cookie more than the kiss. So we just
look at you.
We split them.
That's adorable.
Yeah, we split them up.
Okay. We're way long. It's good to be with all of you. Hope that you are well. Want to wish you a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being with us as we close out the week in the Gospel of Luke. Chapter 18, making our way. And a parable today, another parable of Jesus, a Luke version of the parable, which is not an easy one. Not disturbing necessarily, but not one of those beloved parables that everybody knows and knows what to do with. This is a kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. Let me read it for you, then we'll see what we can find in it. 18 verse 1, then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and not lose heart. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him and saying, grant me justice against my opponent. For a while he refused, but later he said to himself, though I have no fear of God nor respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice, so that she may not wear me out by continually coming back. And the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long in helping them? I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them. And yet, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? So the first thing, and maybe the most difficult part of this parable, is we have said more than once that generally speaking, when you encounter the main character of a parable, particularly if that one is listed as the father, the master, or one with authority, that character represents God. I would argue that this is one of the exceptions to that rule. The problem with that logic in this parable is that you make God an unjust judge. And I don't think that would be language that Luke would be comfortable with equating for the primary character, the God character in a parable. So this is simply a story about a woman and a man, and their connection to one another is that the man has authority to grant the woman's plea. He has not yet done that, and she persists, coming to him over and over again. And I love the language, Michael, he says the same thing said about him. I don't fear God. In other words, I'm not doing this because it's right, and I don't care about people. I'm just thinking she's going to bother me. She's going to beat me into submission. And so then the judge grants her request, and Jesus uses that story as a springboard to talk to the disciples about, and Luke gives us the exact verbiage, their need to pray always and not to lose heart. And this is the trouble with making God the judge in this story, Michael. It makes it sound like if you just wear God out, even if God doesn't want to listen to you, eventually you can wear him down and have your way. And it seems relatively clear that's not the lesson Luke's trying to teach.
Well, yeah, but let's dig into that here, Clint. Why does that seem relatively clear? Because if you were going to pull this out and you were going to study this, maybe you found this video, you searched Luke 18:1, you're here, we're glad you're here. If you think that this 8-verse section here is its own thing, then you're going to believe that this is a teaching about prayer specifically. You're going to look at this and say, well, isn't the easy takeaway here that the point is pester God as long as possible, be faithful in praying. If you do that, then you're going to get what you want. Well, that would make sense if you only read 8 verses. But if you read the things that came before, if you stick with us through the entire book of chapter 17 here in Luke, you're going to see that there's been this much longer theme of God's vindication, of God's justice, of God's righting the wrongs of the world, of God's upturning and overturning the systems that are and inserting a new kingdom into the world. This is, of course, the entire book of Luke, but we've seen these themes already in Jesus's confrontations with the Pharisees. It's not the people with power, but it's the people without the power that God's going to lift up. And so, Clint, when you look at a text like this, you have to recognize the importance of the characters presented. You have a person of power, a person whose job is to administer justice, and you have a person who's seeking justice, a righteous person, a person who fears, who is seeking that which is owed to her. And the person's persistence is ultimately the thing that will bring that justice to bear. And that is the overall theme, I think, that Jesus is teaching through this parable. It's not that the way to get what you want, like a mail order prayer campaign, is to just be persistent and then you can pull down blessings or riches or health or whatever the situation or moment you're in is. No, this is about the people of God who are resolute and persevering in their trust of God and their supplication for justice and their commitment to justice and to doing the right thing and being part of the kingdom of God. These people will be rewarded when in the end they'll be part of that just kingdom. I think that that's what you see happening in a text like this. And if you misunderstand its context, it's going to take you someplace entirely different.
Yeah, I think that there are clearly parables where Jesus makes a comparison between a character and God. We saw that in the parable of the prodigal son, right? The father is the God character, and the father longs for the son, and he runs to him, and he welcomes him back, and he is gracious and merciful, and then he has words for the older brother. In other parables, it's a parable of contrast, and I would argue that's the case here. This judge ends up doing the right thing because of a woman's persistence. How much more then, essentially, says
right.
Jesus, can God be trusted to act on behalf of those who are righteous, on behalf of those who are seeking justice? Will he delay? No, he won't. I tell you, he will quickly grant justice. And when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? And so I think it's very helpful, Michael, this idea of read the beginning of this section and the end to interpret the middle. The beginning says, pray and don't lose heart, be persistent. And then at the end here, will the Son of Man find faith on the earth? Will Jesus find people who have hung in there and persisted in their prayer and not given up? And God can be trusted to hear and care about and act on behalf of those people. Even an unjust judge does the right thing sometimes. How much more will God do the right thing?
And this is a theme that I do think we've seen in Luke, maybe not called out as much as some of the others, Clint, is the idea of the value of Christian persistence. I think that has been there, and I think it is only going to become magnified because, as you may know, Luke is part one of two books which go together. You have Luke and you have Acts, and Acts is ultimately the story of the church living out that perseverance, living into that faith that Jesus Christ will soon be returning. And so these words are not, I don't think, abstract, Clint. I don't think that this is some kind of imaginary spiritual teaching. I think that this is a very practical kind of lesson that you know that in the secular, faithless world, that even bad people end up doing good things because ultimately they just give in, and at the end of the day, they think it's in their best interest to just, I'll give justice because it's going to get this woman off my back. How much more so if you are faithful and persistent and you are committed to your faith and you live that out over the long run. And by you, I think not just you individually, I think we, the church, are in view here. That if we are faithful one generation to the next, then that will ultimately be the thing that the Son of Man will find upon that return. This idea that the persevering ones, the passing on of the faith, that this is the thing that matters. And that if we are committed to it and we practice that kind of persistence, that will make a difference. And that will be the kind of thing that will leave a lasting kind of impact on the kingdom.
And I want to move on here, but just before that, briefly, there is a concession, I think, here that's important. Luke is acknowledging, as Jesus does, that there is an element of the faith of waiting. There is a grind it out, hang in there kind of aspect to the Christian faith. The Christian faith is not one that promises immediate results and everything we want all the time. It is not a system that says, "Hey, come and get whatever you want, and you'll get rewarded instantly." There is a season of persistence. There is a season of waiting. You know, what does it say here? That they cry out day and night. His chosen ones who cry to him day and night. There is assumed within the faith moments of longing and moments of persistence and moments of hanging in there when things are difficult. And God can be trusted with those moments. I think that's ultimately the takeaway here. Let's move on. This next one is much easier, also profound, but much simpler. He also told them a parable to some of those who trusted in themselves, that they were righteous, and others they looked on with contempt. He said, 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus, "God, I thank you I'm not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of all of my income." But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up toward heaven, but beat his breast and said, "God, be merciful to me, a sinner." And I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Sometimes we talk of Jesus preaching as reversal, the great reversal, the upside down kingdom. And here we have such a wonderful, clear example of that. You have a Pharisee and tax collector, and in Jesus' day, that's a criminal and a senator. It's whatever it is. There's a massive gap between these two, morally, socially, in terms even religiously. We could say one is clean, the other's unclean. And the Pharisee is impressive. I mean, what he says is impressive. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of my income. But that's a disciplined person, right? But he begins, his lens is to look favorably on himself and unfavorably on others. And you have, by contrast, this man, the tax collector, who recognizes his sinfulness, who won't bring himself to look up to God, but he simply says, "Be merciful on me, a sinner." And then Jesus gives the reversal at the end. I tell you, that's the one who went home justified. And Michael, this is a beautiful parable. It's a wonderful story by Jesus. Luke does a nice job with it. This is one of those parables I think people do remember. It's one of those that's pretty hard to make you choose. We all like to think we're the one standing off saying, "I'm a sinner." But there's a warning here for the moments that we think too much of ourselves.
There absolutely is a warning here. This is actually one of the parables that I think there's some functional disagreement between Christians on how to read this, because if you read the Pharisee as representing Judaism and representing the old way, the law, the kind of binding statutes, and that it's contained to that, then I think Christians can kind of offload the challenge of this text. And we can say, yeah, Jesus is criticizing those legalists, and it's those people that Jesus is calling to account. We're people of grace, that we've received this good news, and so ultimately the critique doesn't land on us. This story is for us. We're the tax collectors, the Gentiles, the people who've been given grace and didn't deserve it. That would be one way to read the text, and I think that forecloses and misses on much of the force of the text, because the Pharisee, this all boils down, Clint, to what you had said. And I want to point this out here, verse 11. This idea that I twice a week I'm fasting, giving a tenth of all of my income. This is a person who is giving a factual account of doing the things that would be looked up to as the highest bar of the expression of faith in that day. And so I think a far more troubling interpretation of this text is that this today could be read as a very, very stinging critique of Christian legalism. The idea that we who live with the highest bar of faith practices, that we who are seeking to go to church, read our scriptures, pray the Bible, trying to be connected in service opportunities, trying to give of what we have, that if you can put a check mark next to these things, then you stand in position of being questioned like the Pharisee, that the temptation might be that it becomes for us the actions that are justifying and not the humility, confession, and repentance. And I think, I want to be clear, Clint, we are called as people of faith to these spiritual practices. This Pharisee was doing nothing wrong in practicing faith in a meaningful, sustained way. I go back to just a couple minutes ago when we were talking about the idea of persevering in the faith. You have to do the work, and the work takes time. That said, we have to hold intention. On this hand, we have the calling of being Christian and all of the things involved. On the other hand, the very literal next parable is Jesus saying, it is never the stuff that will save you. It is never the practices that are the point. It is always the reminder that we are indeed at the center sinners. We are always those in need of grace. We are always those who need to return to humility. And if we can hold those two things, doing the work of faith, remembering that that work is all about instilling and practicing and returning to humility, then we're living in the full force of, I think, these texts in conversation, as opposed to reading them individually and honing in on alternate points.
Yeah, I think the warning here for Christians and for Christianity as a whole is that any practice of the faith that leads us to self-affirmation is inherently flawed. Any approach to following Jesus that leaves me patting myself on the back for how good that I am, it is broken. It's not of Christ. It is the one who humbly approaches God out of gratitude and hope and grace, not out of confidence and self-assessment. And it's just so crystal clear in this parable. This parable is not long. It's probably, it would be very hard to misunderstand this parable. It asks troubling questions. It's not easy in its interpretation, but to just see where Jesus is going here, this is about as clear as parables get.
And notice that this is not the point of the text. This is so far from the point of the text. I want to make this clear, but I think there's an interesting anecdote that could help us. This is not a teaching on prayer, but I do think there's a short lesson on prayer in here, Clint, because notice that the Pharisee is practice in fasting and praying. And, this is in a very short sentence, still an eloquent prayer. Thank you for all of these people I'm not. And this tax collector is not in any way eloquent. And yet these words are the most powerful words. God be mercy to me, a sinner. You may not feel like an eloquent prayer as well. You may not feel like you always have the words to return to God. And this is not a text with a lesson about praying, but I think when you see these characters, the heart of prayer is ultimately honesty with God. And I think that that's a thing to truly reach for in our own spiritual lives, is may we be people more and more vulnerable and transparent with God in an honest and authentic way, so that what we say to God is more and more reflective of what is true of our lives. And if that's happening, friends, then you're growing in your prayer life. That's the kind of prayer that Jesus is lauding in a text like this.
Yeah, this isn't a prayer parable, but
No.
if you spend the bulk of your prayer telling God how good you are versus seeking and celebrating God's grace, your prayer needs work.
You're right.
I mean, it's not a prayer parable, but it certainly says something about it.
Whether it is the first parable or the second that hits you today, I certainly hope there's something both challenging here as well as encouraging. And I hope that you certainly will share this with others that you think might help, or that this might be a help to them. We would love if you give this video a like, helps others in their own searching for studies like this. Subscribe to stick with us as we go through the book of Luke and other books like it. But friends, until we see you again next week, be blessed.
Thanks, everybody.